All right, welcome back to another episode of Fastlane Founders with me, Greg Keel. And we're here with a couple of super awesome gentlemen. We talked a couple weeks ago about their business, and we're going to dig a little deeper today and figure out what makes them tick and what they're going to do in the world once their company is a success. So, welcome, guys. You're going to introduce yourselves and kind of give us a little background of what got you here.
Hey, Greg. My name is Mark Barbier. I'm the co-founder and the CTO here at Earmark.
Hey, my name is Sanden. I am another co-founder, and I'm actually the CTO. Mark is the CEO. Yeah, we've been just like super into the whole startup world. We come from corporate life. This is actually our fourth or fifth gig together. I've kind of lost count. We've always wanted to do something in the space, and so eventually we just decided to take a stab at it, and here we are.
Nice. So what made you guys decide to do your own ventures and get out of the corporate world?
Yeah, I think for both of us, Greg, rolling our own has been an aspiration for years and years. So when Sanden and I did work together, through those 4 or 5 tours, we'd always think of other concepts, our business ideas like on the side, even from our the very first role that we worked at together. What's really interesting is the company we were both at before we started Earmark was called Product Plan. It was based in Santa Barbara here in California. That company was sold in 2022. And what that did was it basically just gave us a reason to go, roll our own, right, and go on our own. That company was a SaaS platform specifically for product managers and delivery teams. So we've been building in the product space for quite some time. And the thought process for us was, originally starting with improving communication skills for product and engineering leaders. So the very first version of the product that we built was actually a Vision Pro solution, for the Apple Vision Pro. So before the Vision Pro came out, we spent a lot of time in Cupertino with pre-release devices, working on this idea of communication coaching in real time in immersive AR and VR environments. So an example might be, if there's an auditorium, right, or maybe the conference room, you have to go pitch in. It would provide, an immersive environment for you, and you'd have Google Slides that are there. You can sort of, transition through. It would provide real-time feedback around breathing and, your pace, as you're going through your pitch. And then after you're done with your pitch, it would then provide a post analysis in terms of how you did. So that's where we started. And then we did a bunch of customer discovery around that particular solution. And then it turned out that nobody really prepares for anything. We learned that people really don't prepare often. So what we decided to do was pivot to a web-based solution. The other piece was the Vision Pro market in the end wasn't that compelling because I think they only sold 80,000 devices. And then when we pivoted to the web, we kind of took a lot of the same concepts that we had in the Vision Pro solution around real-time feedback and communication coaching for product and engineering leaders. And that's kind of where Earmark started. Sam, is there anything you'd add?
Nice. And what about you, Sanden? What? Yeah, so we're having a little bit of difficulties over here, but yeah, go ahead and kind of give your side of the story.
Yeah, as kind of Mark was alluding to, we started with that essentially conversation speech prep. But when we started talking to customers, just really learning that that's not actually something that people do. A lot of people just wing it. And that's actually how most of our pivots came from. It was just talking to a bunch of people. And I think we talked to around 70 different prospects before we arrived kind of even close to the solution that we are today. And even then we still continue to iterate on it after we're doing that. So I think for us, I know it's kind of an obvious, but like, that was kind of like a huge lesson for us. It's like, hey, like we could build what we want and what we're interested in, and we really should, because we should be able to use that product ourselves. But also, it's really important to like actually talk to people. Like, are they actually using this? One of our biggest challenges is just finding people to give us honest feedback. Because even just talking to like ex colleagues or friends, like everyone wants to be nice, so they're not gonna like be like, oh, this is this is terrible, this is the worst app I've ever seen. But they'll be like, oh yeah, this is nice. What would you pay for it? Well, maybe not. I was like, okay, well, that's a good signal. So through those reps, that's kind of taken us to the solution where we have today, where we actually do have paying customers. So that's pretty awesome. And then just kind of iterating on there and just making it as sticky as possible is really kind of our goal now.
Yeah, and Greg, what we have today is essentially this idea that Earmark is a productivity suite where the work completes itself. So the whole concept is Earmark listens to your meetings and in real time turns what's said into finished work. Things like requirements, docs, tickets, updates, and next steps, unlike generic AI meeting tools. And the thought process there is that enables product teams to move forward without a lot of manual follow-up. The audience that we build for, they're in meetings usually like back to back to back to back, like all day, every day. And the ability for them to actually generate real work is really hard, right? Because they're just in conversations all the time. So the thought process behind our service is just, can we just automate those deliverables as you talk throughout the day? Does that make sense?
Nice. And I did get a chance to play with your stuff a little bit. So for the audience who hasn't seen it, let's get laser focused and say, what is your product and what is it doing for your customers?
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So our product, I'm actually able to screen share. Is that all right? Or do you just want me to talk through it?
Just talk through it. The screen share is really messy on StreamYard.
Totally. So basically, what our product does is when you have a meeting, it essentially loads in. It listens to your meeting. We actually are not a bot, so we don't join your Zoom or join your Google Meet or whatever tool that you're using. And what's really interesting about it is that it begins to actually understand the context of your meeting while it's occurring. So what this enables you to do is this enables Earmark to give the user live feedback. So for example, our ICP we're building for essentially software delivery teams. Say if I'm a product manager and maybe an engineer is kind of speaking over my head, I could be like, hey, I don't know what they're talking about. Kind of translate this into something maybe I would understand. So I don't have to kind of like interrupt the meeting and get those translations, or maybe acronyms that I might not understand, things like that. We have kind of things that are like, hey, like make me look smart in the moment. Like, what's a really thought-provoking question I can ask right here? So there's a whole bunch of things and use cases that we could do live in the meeting just to help someone either facilitate that meeting or to even to help people who don't normally speak into a meeting be able to talk. And then on the opposite side, so after your meeting is done, instead of just creating summaries for you, we think that kind of like the next evolution of meeting tools is actually doing the work for you and like completing your work, or at least as much as we can. Because, if you think about it, summaries, it's just really kind of like a delayed artifact after the meeting where you still have to parse through that and then still do that work. With all of the agents that exist today, and all of the context that they have, like you really should be able to start taking some things off. So if you want like getting into like those specifics, like if you're talking about maybe, hey, like this should be a ticket that we want to file into Linear, for example, we could just go ahead and do that and just push that into Linear. Or maybe we're talking about a prototype feature. Why can't that just like initiate maybe a Cloud Code or Codex session and actually push up a PR that you can check either during the meeting or after the meeting? So just things like that, like really just trying to actually take action and move rather than that just be like an action item in a generic summary that you get after your meeting.
Nice. And yeah, I mean, there's so many tools out there summarizing meetings and all these things, and based on what I was able to learn, you've gone a little deeper than that, and you've gotten more pragmatic, And so, what are some of the success stories that you've come across so far in your travels?
Yeah, so we have some really awesome customers. And a couple of really good examples. One is Service Titan, which is like a large 3,000 person SaaS enterprise company. They do finding or discovery, booking, payments for the trades, and they're based in Los Angeles. They adopted our solution. I can't even like kind of the anatomy of a deal, right? Where we started the pilot with 7 folks that are there, product managers. And what ended up happening was over the course of several months, the product basically spread virally in Service Titan proper, not only from this initial product team, but now it spans a lot of their engineering, a lot of their ops, a lot of their customer success folks. It's a technical product, so everybody kind of has the same needs in terms of just-in-time information, artifact creation, all the things that we're really good at. So right now I think we have about 80 folks as part of that evaluation group, right? And now they're a large customer of ours. Another example is a company called EverCommerce, which is based in Denver. It's kind of a health tech, fintech company. Really similar path where they started with an evaluation group of 5 people, and now there's about 60 people as part of that group. So those are just like two examples of these large enterprise customers where it started with a really small team, and now it's across a bunch of different disciplines and really large groups. And what we're doing
Nice.
there.
And so when you guys got together to start working on this project, what was the build process like with your team, and how do you guys kind of go about creating stuff and iterating and getting something finished?
Yeah, so this is our team. It's just the 2 of us, and one of the things that we really kind of strive to do is put together a quick and dirty MVP and just get it in front of customers. And for the longest time, we had a solution that we kind of felt embarrassed to put it in front of people. But what was really interesting about that is we thought it's like, hey, the features aren't all there. Like, it seems like an incomplete product. And then suddenly people started paying for it, and we were like, what? Like, really? Like, people are like paying for this? And what was cool about that is like, even like within like the whole like prototypical like UI, that it had at the time, it was kind of clear that we saw like there was kind of like a burning need here. So really, like, the focus was, okay, like, what is like the core aspect of the product, which is kind of like this meetings and like doing work for you after the meeting. So like, how do we take that core and how do we turn it into a polished product, but like make sure that we don't change that, and then just really focus on getting users back into the app daily. I think that's kind of been one of our biggest things. But just continually iterating. Like, one of our favorite things to do is if a customer calls in either on Slack or email, and they're like, hey, like, I ran into this issue. If we could fix it for them that day, like, that's a really strong signal for them. Like, hey, like, I could actually talk to like a human. I'm not talking to like an AI support system. And then I might have even an influence over the product. So just really trying to go kind of above and beyond for customers, delight the customers, and just like continuously iterating on this as fast as we can.
Yeah, great. And that's to just add on one point that Sanden made around sort of daily use. One of the goals for us has always been to be a daily and essential tool for our customers in general, and just be a daily and essential product. We've been through a lot of different SaaS companies that have had varying levels of frequency and varying levels of engagement. And for us, we didn't want to be like a once a month type of tool, right? Or a once a week tool. We wanted to make sure that it was embedded in your workflow every single day.
Yeah, definitely. So, fast forward 3 to 5 years, and you guys have become a success. Your product is getting worked all over the country, and teams are saving time and money. What does a day in the life of a future customer look like who's using this fancy magic AI thing you built?
Yeah. The way we think about it, the metaphor that probably makes the most sense is this idea of an AI chief of staff that is proactive in terms of it preparing you every single day. So you wake up first thing in the morning, you have your cup of coffee. It knows exactly what tasks you've committed to any given day, right? What's in flight. Maybe there's some peripheral conversations that are taking place where that needs your attention, right? Like, is it smart enough to sort of synthesize what those action items might be for you or how they impact you, right? So this idea of kind of removing all the clutter, get you directionally set in terms of where you need to be focused, and then when you start your conversations, through the day, the ability for it to essentially just task itself, right? Like this idea of, can meetings essentially like generate work, right? Like real work versus just follow-ups, So the automation of a number of these concepts, we believe the future work will be a state where the idea that a meeting wouldn't actually generate work is going to be a totally alien concept, right? Like, which is actually a big leap from where meetings are today. But that we're convinced that's the future of work. So we want to exist in that space. So in addition to generating work while you're going through things, I think the other piece that we're really keen on is just the idea of helping enterprises make the right decisions as well. So when you think about just real product intelligence, right? As and things kind of going in the right direction, can we help the entire R&D apparatus make the right bets as well? It's kind of like a little bit of a longer term goal for us. In addition to generating the immediate artifacts that you would have to create every day anyway. Sienna, is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a video from one of the YC partners where he was mentioning he was following up with a founder, and it was just kind of like off the sidelines, like after one of their kind of all hands meetings, and was trying to make a connection to him with another founder. And what's really interesting is, like, without that conversation being captured, like, it almost just felt like naked. It was almost like, I'm gonna have to remember to, like, go back to my computer and, like, who did I talk to, what did I promise them, and then, like, send them that email. So, like, really, like, the thought or like the promise is, it's like, hey, you could have that conversation that's captured maybe on your phone or your watch, and when you get back to your computer, maybe there's like that draft of that email that already exists, already has the people in there, and you could just send. Like, you don't have to feel like you constantly have to be like in the state of like remembering.
Yeah, it's a huge help, and the product in a lot of ways solves that even today. The other piece is, the future work and just R&D in general. If engineers are moving 5 to 10 times faster, all of the peripheral disciplines also have to move that quickly, right? So AI has been in service of engineers first, obviously because engineers created AI. But now I think for all knowledge workers that aren't in front of an IDE all day, one way to think about it is what jobs or workflows can you solve for like every other audience, right, outside of engineering. And I think for folks that are in meeting heavy roles, our technology still applies to those as well. So, I think for us, like long term, it's kind of going beyond just R&D and engineering, product design, and more towards maybe all of knowledge work if we do this right.
Yeah, that's totally true. So we've got a lot of entrepreneurs out there who are rustling through the mud, trying to get to a place where you guys are at, where you actually built something and have customers. What kind of advice do you have for them, as they're building their thing?
Yeah, I think the first bit of advice is there's a lot of lore out there, and a lot of dogma around what a startup is, what being a founder is, and there's a million YouTube channels around it. Sanden mentioned YC, so there's obviously investors that have different perspectives, and they're doing all their content marketing, and there's a deluge of information out there around doing a startup, what it's like, etc. And something that Sanden and I struggled with, I think, really early was, we had all this information, all this dogma, and we felt really beholden to like whatever those frameworks were in every aspect and every conversation, and we're almost like paralyzed through analysis, or all of the information and best practices that were out there. And I think the one thing that I would encourage founders to do is I think, what we've learned is those frameworks are nice and they are helpful, but there's nothing more helpful than just your own instinct, your own taste, right? Sometimes you're going to make decisions that are going to be contrarian to whatever the best practices or the dogma is. And you have to do what's best for your company, and it's okay to follow your intuition. And I think, oftentimes your intuition is probably going to be right more times than not.
Yeah, definitely. Any thoughts, Sanden?
Yeah, I would say when you're pre-product market fit, really everything is sort of off the table. Anything that you do at this point is almost like a micro experiment, and you can run as many of those as you want. And like one of the biggest things is try not to get held back in your decisions, or try not to hold a particular idea too strongly, because you're still trying to find what resonates with users, and in the meantime, just moving fast is really kind of the best way to do it. And related to that scenario, with code creation becoming so cheap, you now see that there are so many people and there are so many founders in this space that the really tough part is actually really not building the code anymore, but it's the kind of distribution, like the marketing, how you talk about your product. So for us, that has been kind of something that we're getting used to and trying to improve on. But that's kind of something that looking back, maybe I kind of leaned in a little bit more on that, at the start. I think that's kind of something that we kind of realized a little late on.
Yeah, super helpful. So where are you guys at right now? Are you raising capital? Are you expanding your customer base? Kind of how's all that going?
Yeah, so right now, we've bootstrapped the company since its inception, and I think for us, we're just big believers in just doing the right things for the business, and in incrementally growing, our active user base, going acquiring new customers. We're at the point where we're considering raising capital. So we've kind of warmed up a few conversations there, but I think the biggest thing for a company of our profile is, and I think it's pretty true, right? Even for pre-seed, I think that the barrier to entry, or the cost entry, is going to be a lot higher than maybe it was in sort of the ZERP days, where there was just capital and money everywhere. So what we want to do is just build a great business, and then raise under favorable terms is really the goal. And then, and who's to say that if we get to a place, a revenue place, maybe that introduces enough optionality to where we can continue to be bootstrapped and not have a board and call shots in our own way. But what we want is really optionality, right? Like the ability to raise capital, right, or the ability to stay bootstrapped. But either way, it's kind of like on our terms. I think the biggest thing that's probably really appealing about taking on capital would be augmenting like go to market as an example. Like going in, to Sanden's point around distribution, going out, firing up every distribution channel, having it all humming on all cylinders, having the manpower behind that in order to like take those leads and convert them into real opportunities and go through IT sec and legal and basically closing these deals. That's a very it's a very heavy process, right? So so I hope that makes sense. So bootstrap, maybe you could take on capital, but no matter what, just focus on the business and doing things correctly.
Nice. Well, that was a super interesting conversation. We're really excited to see where you go. You guys want to share kind of how to find you guys to our listeners, and maybe website or any other social media stuff that you've got?
Yeah, you can find us. Our website is tryyourmark.com. You can also find us on both X and LinkedIn. Our X is also tryyourmark_ or earmarks_ AI. And our LinkedIn, there's a link to that on our website as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, guys. This is another episode of Fastlane Founders, and we will be coming back multiple times a week going into the future and interviewing a ton of cool people who are doing great things in the world.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next time. Us as it goes really slow.